Well, we had to have it off during closed session. Okay.
Who we got joining us out there today,
And
Amit?
I had cataract, so I'm keeping my. Yeah, you gotta.
Oh, Craig Baldwin isn't here yet?
These are my sunglasses.
Hey,
No, no,
Craig,
yeah, I've
welcome.
got my sunglasses on and I'm not using the computer. Yeah, you have to have.
Call to order the Rainbow Municipal Water District Board of Directors meeting for January 24th, 2023.
And if I turn on my mic, do I need to repeat all of that? Thank you. Yeah. Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Repeat roll call, please.
Director Gasca,
Present.
Director Hamilton,
Present.
Director Matt.
Here.
Director Moss
Present.
and Director Townsend Smith. Here, thank you.
Item number 11, Board of Directors consider adopting resolution number 23-02, renewing the state of emergency findings for Assembly Bill 361, AB 361.
Director Hamilton, on this one, I'm not sure that we need to do this anymore. This state of emergency is supposed to expire at the end of February.
February.
28th. We're meeting all here in person. Nobody's remote. And we put this on here just because it's been on, but if you guys want to just say, nobody make a motion and we move on, it doesn't functionally have any need anymore. And as
Since we're all here and present, there's no reason to consider a motion.
Right. So
Okay.
the other thing to remember is that now we fall back to the old Brown Act rules on notification or the weird modified ones that was in a previous attorney's letter, which has another few hoops to go at. But if anybody's going to miss a meeting or wants to attend remotely, just let us know in advance and we'll figure out how that's going to work, whether you
Have
post
to post the.
post something outside your hotel room, wherever you're at or whatever. But just cause, yeah.
Have they not passed the alternative to this emergency resolution yet?
Well, they did, but it isn't much of an improvement.
Oh,
It muddies the water quite a bit. I think the safest bet is just to go back to the old Brown Act rules, which is if you want to attend remotely, you do it. Now, the new one, you have to have both audio and visual, right? But you don't have to post a notice to where you are. It's in the report from, I want to say 3 months ago or so. But we can cross that bridge, we'll get there, but we had this on here just because it's been on there, but I just think it's time to have the discussion whether we just let it.
Drop it off, yeah. Report of any potential action items from closed session.
Microphone.
Thank you. CSDA, the California Special Districts Association. They said they weren't, happy with this AB 2449. They really had these kind of convoluted processes for the virtual board meetings. So they're going to propose, new legislation this session.
Oh,
They want something that will kind of be similar to what we've been doing under AB 361, but without having to do the resolution every month. So hopefully that goes through.
hopefully that'll go through.
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
CSDA's local rep, Chris Palmer, set up a meeting with myself, North County Fire, Greater San Diego RCD, and Fallbrook. We met with Marie Waldron's office partially to pitch that bill they're working on. Try to get sponsors because they thought they were fixing it, but they just made it worse. So hopefully we can get the legislature to wake up. I think that one of the things we were pushing is that now that we have having Zoom here and people have adopted this, we have better participation and it's more flexible for people who can't travel here at a 1 o'clock meeting to be able to tune in at work or wherever and jump in and make a comment. And I think that one of the things that some agencies have been doing just audio only streaming or letting people call in. I mean, the Water Authority was among them until this Thursday. We were the first meeting that there'll be video and audio. And I think that what we said is the trade-off to get flexibility board members to participate with video and with the roll call votes and whatnot is that we also agreed to provide enhanced access to the public, which I think that cuts both ways. And hopefully
Yeah.
the legislature won't take it and make it into a big mess again. My confidence in that isn't super strong.
Fingers crossed.
I take back what I said, Alfred.
The closed session report. The board met in closed session to discuss 3 items. First, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to government code section 54956.9 D2, 1 item. The second matter, appointment of public employee general manager pursuant to government code section 54957. And the third item, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to government code section 54956.9 D1, TC Construction Company versus Rainbow Municipal Water District. All 3 items were discussed and there is no reportable action.
Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda?
None for staff.
I would like to take a moment for the directors to recognize the operations crew and the amazing and great work that they did over the holidays during the rain and everything else, and the time they gave from their families. We thank you very much.
Any other additions or deletions or amendments?
Yeah, whatever the right point is, I'd like to report on discussions with North County Fire Protection.
18D would
Yeah.
be.
We-
the right spot.
Director's comments. Instructions to allow public are there any other additions, deletions, or amendments? Item 14, instructions to allow public comment on agenda items from those attending this meeting via teleconference or video conference. Do we have anybody attending by video conference or teleconference?
We have members of the public attending, but no comments.
Okay. Just in case, if at any point anyone would like to ask a question or make a comment and have joined us this meeting with their computer, they can click on the raised hand button located at the bottom of the screen. We will be alerted that they would like to speak. When called upon, please unmute the microphone and ask the question or make the comments in no more than 3 minutes. Those who have joined by dialing a number on their phone will need to press *6 to unmute themselves, then *9 to alert us that they would like to speak. A slight pause will be offered at the conclusion of each agenda item discussion to allow public members an opportunity to make comments or ask questions. Oral or written communications from the public. I have one written request. Are there any additional written or oral?
We did not receive any additional written.
Okay, at this time, the chair recognizes Barry Willis.
Hello,
Five.
it works. So I was gonna pass out a few of my cards and then my resumes here too for my seat again with LAFCO. So I can pass it down.
I'm gonna take him.
Yeah.
My cell phone number's on there. I always encourage you all to call me. So Meg, I wanted to thank Meg, and he kind of reached out to me during my Alpine Fire campaign and said, you might want to consider this, might want to consider that. So thank you, Meg. It's very thoughtful of you.
My pleasure. Thank
So it's been 4 years since I got elected to LAFCO, and it was pretty exciting when I ran the first time to get that notice that I won by a couple votes over the incumbent. And so since that time, LAFCO has been a great experience. I always try to reach out to every board member, whether it be Tom Kennedy as a GM or Meg. I always try to reach out, even if I don't hear from board members. It's important for me to hear what you have to say. That's why I am convinced about that more than ever, to reach out to, in this case, you're the voters. You're the board, you're the voters. I'm convinced more than ever to reach out and to hear what you have to say. As your LAFCO representative, I have not missed one LAFCO meeting. And I confirm that with Keen. Keen, I haven't missed one, have I? So anyway, so this time around, I've got 58 districts to get to. So this is number 6, I think, and I've got 4 more scheduled for Julian. And so the key is to meet the board members face to face to hear what they're, now, a lot of the boards out there in Julian have no idea what's going on with Rainbow and Fallbrook. So that gives me an opportunity to tell them what's happening. So I think they appreciate that being brought up to date. So I'm here asking for your support. One thing I will tell you is that when I make any decision, I try to reach out as much as possible, get as much input as possible for a fair and reasonable decision. And just so you know, I don't drink anybody's Kool-Aid. Say, I'm just telling you. So as we look forward, I am asking for your support. You have my cards. I hope that you will call me if you ever have any concerns. I will continue to reach out to every single board member, and whether it be in GM, like I talk to Gary Aron every once in a while, Jack Beebe, Don Butts, when it comes to, there's this constant conflict with the RCDs still needs to get worked out. I'm going to try to do everything I can to reason with either side to get them to not be so hostile. It's quite a challenge sometimes. But in terms of the Rainbow, I'll just mention it briefly. The Rainbow Fallbrook detachments, proposed detachments. I hear from other GMs that they're concerned about their cost increases. Whatever the issue that's decided in terms of exit fees, my major concern, is it fair and reasonable? And that's what I'm always going to aim for, just with facts. That's why I always appreciate Tom and Jack Beebe, and they provide facts to me. I listen to the Water Authority also, but I am going to make a fair and reasoned decision. And I feel for I don't know how San Diego County can survive in the ag business. I just don't know how they do it with these water rates, being so insane. Of course you would. And here's one of the first questions I asked when I talked to other board members. If you were in Fallbrook and Rainbow's shoes, would you do the same thing? Every one of them says yes. That's the first question. Every one of them singles yes. So then they expressed concern about how the cost might come to them. So we have a discussion about that. So anyway, thank you for your time. I don't know if any of you wanted to ask, or make a comment or a question or anything, but I always want to hear from you. Thanks.
Have you gotten some endorsements yet? I assume your board's endorsed you.
Yes, they nominate. I've already got confirmation now. So how many of you have heard of Cane Break Water District?
What?
Tom's
We tried to recruit him when I was president.
Tom's a guru, so of course he's heard of it. So anyway, I went and visited him the first time, and I'm going to visit him this time. He said, you know what? You had our support last time. You're going to have this time. You don't have to come out. So I'm going to come out anyway. It's a bit of a drive. It's between Julian. I mean, it's out in the boonies, man. Anyway, but I was at Cuyamaca Water Board yesterday, and if there is someone that's, if you're running against me, you're not going to outwork me, man. You're not going to outwork me. So anyway, I've got confirmation on votes, not necessarily endorsement. Your question was endorsement.
Yeah.
I've already got confirmation on how their votes are coming my way. So anyway, that's positive. It's really a good feeling when the hard work pays off. Thanks, guys and ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, I'd like to make a motion that we endorse Barry.
Well, we'll
Or
have
see the
the
ladder
ballots
go.
haven't come out yet. We'll have our.
I understand that.
I'm not sure if a rainbow endorsement's gonna help.
Yeah, helping. You could be in trouble.
But we have an agenda item to discuss.
Yes,
To see if anybody here wants.
He wants
to
to
run, which
run.
I'm presuming. But that's coming up a little later in the agenda.
I'll be visiting. Thanks.
Thank you very
Thank you, Barry.
much.
Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor, but since I didn't hear a second, let's say it died.
Okay.
Yeah.
Item number 16, any other oral? Nothing's come in the last 2 minutes. Item number 16, employee recognitions, excellent coin awards.
Yes, so this is one of the great times when we have another employee who's reached the milestone of 5 and
Oh, wow.
yes, and Ricardo, you can stand up, Ricardo Saracosa. He's here. I had to take some notes on all the things he's been doing. So I apologize. I didn't memorize the whole thing, but he started here in 2015, so the 8 years this year in the construction department. And then a few years later moved into the metering department. But then in 2021, he got advanced to system operators. System operators are the people who manage all our pumps and move the water in and out of the system. It's one of the most challenging jobs. They're working 24/7, 365 every day of the year, making adjustments to our water system. And so he's doing great work in that area. As Steve is his supervisor there. He's received a total of 11 coin recognitions to date, all 5, obviously, of the coins and 5 honorable mentions. And proficiently, especially in professionalism. And a lot of that came from customers who have interfaced them and were indicating how professional he was, and also a lot of teamwork in his honorable mentions. And so both internal and external people have been reporting back how he goes above and beyond the call of duty, no matter whether he was in construction or he was in metering or in system operations. So with that, we want to offer Ricardo the plaque for his 5 coins and thank him. And
That's impressive.
Any words?
Good job.
Great job. Did you get your picture?
So you got
Okay,
it.
good.
Johnny on the
Bye now.
spot.
Item number 17, approval of amendments. Approval of minutes.
I move we approve the minutes.
I'll
Moved by
second
Director
that.
Moss, seconded by Director Gasca. All those in favor?
I,
All those opposed? No, motion passes unanimously. Board of Directors comments and reports. Directors comments are comments by directors concerning district business which may be of interest to the board. This is placed on the agenda to enable the board members to convey your information to the board and to the public. Will be no discussion or action taken by the board of directors unless the item is noticed as part of the meeting agenda. On the president's side, the first thing I'd like to do is we have another coin to award. Patty, I don't know how much you know about the commitment to excellence, but we instituted these awards in 2017 to recognize employees who are committed to meeting our mission statement to provide our customers reliable, high-quality water and water reclamation service in a physically sustainable manner. The 5 coins that Tom alluded to earlier are integrity, professionalism, responsibility, teamwork, and innovation. And these are recognitions by the employees, primarily to employees. But there is an overall coin that we call challenge coin, which we give to all members of the staff. There's a welcoming board and commitment to the excellence. So there's your challenge coin, if you will. And welcome
Awesome.
to the Board of Directors and
Thank
to
you.
Rainbow Municipal Water District.
thank y'all.
Yeah. And we had one of our former employees was an Air Force veteran, and he came up with the idea, and it's actually now been duplicated in a lot of.
Almost all the,
Yeah, we see.
the Water Authority has a coin
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a lot of
See
places.
a lot of
have
them, but ours with the 5 challenge coins that are employee nominated have been really great. And it also weaves its way from our strategic plan through these coins and then into people's performance evaluations are all based on our core values that the board's established in conjunction with the employees. And it's actually been a really effective program.
Other president's comments, just to bring to your attention, there's a Southern California Water Coalition luncheon in Pomona on January 27th. If you want to go, get your name in the pot pretty quickly. As we were talking about during the closed session, the Aqua Conference in Monterey, May 9th through the 11th. If you want to go, make sure you get with Dawn to get registered ASAP. The last thing actually happens again this week is the San Diego County Water Authority is hosting a meet and greet for the MWA, the new MWD General Manager.
Board chair.
Chair, it says. Okay, anyway.
Ortega.
Daniel Ortega,
Adon.
Board Chair, yeah,
Board chair.
Don Ortega. That's on Thursday at 3 p.m. I think there's an RSVP required. To
Is that
reserve your
this
spot.
Thursday?
This
Yeah.
Thursday.
This
No.
Thursday,
No, I'm not going
Assuming the
anywhere
board
this week.
meeting is,
yeah.
is concluded by 3 weeks. They'll
Yeah.
probably make sure to get it done by then. Starts at 9 a.m.
Incentive.
Maybe only 6-hour meeting this.
And the last thing, and just talking with Mig, yesterday, we were talking about, our interactions with other CSDA organizations. And, Mig brought to my attention the fact that in our strategic plan, we do not have any statement relative to community support and community organization support. And I think it would behoove us to look at that and look at amending that to include that aspect.
Yeah, definitely on the list. We wanted to get our new director on board so that because we don't ever do that right before an election because you don't know who's going to be on your board. So that'll be something I'm working with Carlene to ramp up that. So the spring we'll go through a revamp of the strategic plan, get direction to the board of whether we want to do the full thing with all the employees and the public meetings and all that, or just do an update. And so there's different levels of effort for each. It might be time to do one of the things that we had hoped at this point that the LAFCO process would have already been concluded. So we would have a little more clarity as to, which fork in that road we're going to be on. It makes it hard to do the full revamp with that out there because there's two possible futures. And so we may want to just do an update now. And then once that's concluded, do a full, start from scratch, so to speak, and do that. We'll see.
I'll address some of that.
Okay.
At the director's comments.
Okay. Representatives report, San Diego County Water Authority.
All right, as President Hamilton indicated, there's a water authority board meeting coming up. But I wanted the last week, I got the latest revision of a progress that's there's been a rate setting workshop. There's been, I think, 14 or 15 of them held so far that Tracy attends, all the member agency finance officers. But they sent over the spreadsheet with the latest proposed scenarios on what the rates, they haven't been proposed to be considered by the board yet. I don't think it's going to happen anytime real soon, but there's been a lot of work going into it. And I took the data they had there and created a few charts to show you. Next slide, please. This, as so what they want to do is define more fixed charges for revenue stability, which is a rational thing to do. As you know, at the Water Authority, the fixed charges are not truly fixed, as in based on assessed valuation or population or even meter count. They're called consumption-based fixed charges that vary on the 3 and 5 year rolling averages of your consumption. They've had, as I mentioned, and that works okay if everybody uses the same amount of water all the time. But now with pure water coming online, where the city of San Diego is going to roll off a huge amount of the Water Authority's demand, and with in 2023 the direct potable reuse regs will be out, we'll see more and more wastewater being reclaimed, and you're going to see demands go down. Certain agencies have more capacity to do that. Rainbow, we produce about 1 million gallons of wastewater a day on a good day, and that's nowhere near our demands. And so we don't have a big groundwater basin here. We're going to try to squeeze whatever we can. Some agencies are better positioned with large urban areas with high wastewater flows to create significant amounts of water. Some aren't. And so the idea that many of us had would be that these fixed charges would then help shield the remaining agencies from those who are rolling off. Detachment notwithstanding, but as Dr. Hanneman indicated in his report, that the financial impacts of roll-off or loss of supply are the same, whether it's from detachment or loss of demand, rather, whether it's detachment or roll-off. And so, like I said, they've had over a dozen meetings. There've been many options kicked around looking at it. And the right now, the transportation rate, which I know we discussed at some length last year when we moved forward with our wholesale water efficiency projects, that what we pay the same amount to move water from the Met connection just to our north here to our last connection just to our south as the people down in Otay Mesa do. That's not, we don't consider that to be fair. Of course, that issue's been litigated and it is what it is, but they want to convert the transportation charge to a fixed charge or consumption-based fixed charge. And they've been kicking it around, whether it should be your 3, 5, 7 up to 10-year average. One of their concepts is to spread that rolling average out over a longer period of time. So your roll off is slower rather than just 3 years, or to use your peak flow. And peak flow has some interesting challenges in that some agencies peak more often. Like you'll see in here, the Sweetwater Authority has higher peak flow rates because they have the Loveland Reservoir. And right now they're filling up their reservoirs. They're getting the water that Director Townsend Smith was talking about earlier, that they're getting a bunch of free water and their purchase of water authority will go way down. And if you talk to folks on the Sweetwater Board, they recognize that there will be years in the future because their demands continue to drop, that they're not going to buy any water from Water Authority. But then in a couple dry years, when the reservoir dries up, they're going to peak back on. It also disadvantages agricultural communities because in wet seasons, we don't buy any water. Steve over there, well, he's gone now. We haven't bought squat for water this year. I mean, it's just because it's been so wet. But in dry years, we buy a lot more. And so it's difficult for us to figure out this methodology but I think you'll see in the next charts that there's a pretty clear indicator of what our position will be, and there's still considerable disagreement. So we don't know exactly what's coming forward, but this is the most recent one. So the next slide, please. So this is one that looks at the change in rate, the percent change in rate based on a 7-year average of deliveries. And it's hard to read the text here, so it looks better on my screen, but that big yellow column, 64%, take a guess which agency that is. Rainbow. And you look at some of the other ones, the Sweetwater Authority is the next largest. I believe that's Sweetwater.
Green over there.
Sweetwater Authority there.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, look at that. And people say, well, they'll never approve a rate like this. But if you look at these agencies here, City of San Diego, negative. Otay, about negative. Helix, negative. Padre Dam, slightly negative. Some of these other ones, and you add up the votes of the Water Authority, the people whose rates are going down have the votes to pass this. There's one little agency that has a 3.8% vote. That's the outlier. So let's go to the next one. So let's, all right, look at that 10-year average of deliveries. Oh, 72%. And you start seeing a theme here to where, Valley Center is hit, Vallecito's, Vista is people that have things that you'll notice that Fallbrook PUD is always at 0 because they don't use water authority infrastructure at all. They do all their water off it. Now that's where we're moving toward. Right, that's what the pump stations are for, that we're about to place our order because we want to get to that spot where they are. And so right now we buy 75% of our water not from Met. This is on the 25% that we don't. This won't affect our Met purchases, but this is why we're trying to transition away from any use of the Water Authority's facilities, irrespective of detachment, because we're in the bullseye of these fees and charges. And we haven't put these into the ROI model yet because they're not adopted. That we used when we approved the process before. But as you might imagine, this improves the ROI considerably. So let's look at when we look at peaks.
We're a cash cow.
Well, it seems weird that we stand out in all these. I'm not saying there's anything untoward going on, but boy, you see the Sweetwater Authority is now, and when you go to peaking, they're the highest, but they may not worry too much about it because they get free water and they also have groundwater sources. I can send this chart around to you all. It was hard to make this make sense, but put out this one. It's just so much
When
data.
does the City of San Diego roll off?
Well, they're under construction in Pure Water right now. That's supposed to come online here in 2024, 2025. That's
what I
the
was
first
thinking.
phase. And then the next phase, 2030, 32.
Got it.
And so it's coming. It's not a hypothetical anymore.
Interesting, outside of Sweetwater, and I don't know what Sweetwater's mix is.
Are any of the other areas as big ag as we are besides FPUD? Because FPUD.
Valley Center,
Valley Center?
Yeah.
And where are they? Which one is that?
they're the third from the
They're
right.
the blue over
Okay,
just to the
because
right.
I'm sorry, my
Valley
eyes
Center.
are not.
Well,
I
Pam,
can't
what I was talking about when you stepped on me, but
Sorry.
if you look at
Her eyes are.
if you look at both of those charts, the people that are the outliers, if you will, that are above the line, the biggest are mostly your ag producers.
Thank you. I appreciate that because
Yeah,
I can't really look.
And it's hard to read the chart too.
yeah, I know. Sorry, it was like, how am I gonna explain this? And so then look at the 10-year, it's a similar thing. The next one here now, we are right there with Sweetwater. And so I just wanted to, this is something that Tracy has been in these meetings and doing what she can to try to move this along. But the important thing to remember, the agencies that are benefiting have the votes and we don't. And that's always a challenge. We don't have the political muscle to.
The challenge is to not use any of the infrastructure.
Right. And so that's
Real
why we're
easy
doing what we're
solution.
doing. So, and again, just because I'm sure I'll hear about this, the Water Authority, they haven't adopted these rates. This is just what's being considered. It's been going on for over a year. And this was the latest version they sent out and they're going to wrap this up sooner or later. And this is what we're seeing. There are some other changes to the rate structure that might move one way or the other. But for transportation charges, which is something that was like one of the worst things that we pay because we only use a very tiny percentage of the system. This just tells us, yeah, we're moving on the right path. So that's all I have for my report on the Water Authority.
Thank you, Tom. Always enlightening. Somewhat discouraging too.
Yeah.
CSDA,
As Tom mentioned earlier, quarterly meeting next month in February, 16th on a Thursday.
Barry, you'll be there, right? Oh, it's candidate forum night. Oh. Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, CSDA is actively working to do the Brown Act. They've been organizing meetings with a bunch of our local state assembly and Senate representatives and dragging some of us along with them to emphasize the need for reform there. And so we'll see what comes of it.
LAFCO,
LAFCO did not meet in January. But I think the big thing with
December?
LAFCO is, what's that?
in January or, no,
They
not
did not
January.
meet in January. They
January.
meet in February, but they didn't meet in January, right? There was no, yeah. February 6th will be the first meeting of this year, but I think the big news, and it's on our agenda earlier, is the special district candidate election, which we've already kind of covered. And so we'll talk about that a little later. And then our February meeting will be casting our ballot.
Santa Margarita River Watershed Water Master Steering Committee. We did meet. If I can find my notes real quick here. Someplace I hid for myself. I give up.
You really
You
hit 'em.
sound like me.
I did hide them from myself. Fundamentally, there were oh, there they are, right there. We got a report from the Water Authority, from not the Water Authority, from Metropolitan on the reservoir statuses. They basically, at the time the report was taken, remain unchanged. They do not reflect any of the latest rains and things. I think Skinner was at 61% capacity, and the other one was essentially at the same capacity it was the last report, which is neither here nor there. Other roles of business on the conjunctive use project between Fallbrook and Camp Pendleton. They had a breach in one of their holding ponds, which they used to regenerate the groundwater in. It was a mechanical failure due to construction. And they were working to quickly get that repaired. But other than that, the Water Master report is out. Should be distributed within this week or next week. Will primarily be electronically. I did notice with interest, though, that this organization, which, as best I can tell, over the last 5 years, doesn't really do a lot,
Yeah.
has a water master, assistant water master, and a secretary, all being burdened by the participants in the watershed. at court expense. This is a court ordered thing. And question for our legal department. Are court actions public meetings? Is this a public meeting in the definition of California law?
Which means,
The water master.
The water master quarterly meeting?
that's really interesting about water master meetings, because technically the water masters are appointed by the court.
Uh-huh.
So they're technically under the judicial branch, so they're not public meetings, but most water masters do recognize the Brown Act. Which,
Well, these guys appear not to.
yeah.
That's what was confusing to me. Is this a public meeting or not a public
Mhm.
meeting? Because
Yeah, technically
Um,
not, it's a.
they've decided that it's more convenient for them to hold totally Zoom conferences and not meet in public.
Yeah,
Yet it seems to me this is a public meeting.
yeah, water
So-
masters, they're kind of like when you have the court proceedings and the court appoints a receiver.
Uh-huh, yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of what a water master is.
yeah. So anyway, that caught me in terms of legal interpretation. But, our next meeting, the
Good
next,
gig if you can get it, being a water master.
yeah. Oh, it's a
Get
great
paid and you
job.
don't
I
do
think it
much.
makes about $180,000 a year. And basically expends, as best I can tell, maybe about 1 to 2 months in terms of dedicated labor to the activity. So
It's a good gig.
good gig, yeah. Next meeting is April the 18th. And now I need to find my notes again. Aqua,
Yeah. Let's see, you stole my thunder about the May
I
9th, 11th meeting.
tried to do a setup for you. I didn't mean to. steal it.
Okay, is a segue. There's a regulatory meeting on February 15th. It's virtual. There's a DC conference, the annual conference, 23 conference in Washington, DC, February 28th through March 2nd. And then the 2023 Legislative Symposium is the 23rd of March in Sacramento. So look at your calendars, see if you might be interested. I think I'll probably be interested in trying to get to the Legislative Symposium. It's a one-day thing. Let's see, I guess the other item was we received some reports on risk from
Aqua GPIA.
Aqua JPIA. You
Yeah.
might address that, Tom.
Yeah, let me. What they do is they have they'll come out and do a meeting, and I don't know if Carlene's on the line. Is Carlene on the line? Okay, because she met with them. I didn't meet with them directly, but let me see if I can pull. I don't want to misquote it. I should have. Where is it? They came out late last year to go through and review with us now that our first year in there, and provide a report that Meg was, as our Aqua rep, was
I reviewed it.
copied on.
I was trying to understand whether I needed to take any action but I think it was basically a status report.
It was a very good review on the processes that the staff has used and our integration into them. And, when you have a new insurance carrier, it's always a little different, but they've been giving us nothing but good reviews. I see, I'm not signed in my account. That's what I'm like, hey. Either.
It did have a listing of different outlines that could be used to support preparation by staff of different, whether it's safety reports or different types of analysis, et cetera. And so
Right.
there's a lot of guidance there.
And a lot of resources. One of the things that the staff is working on, they've been, is that our admin code has a spot, for safety and operations, but it's sparsely populated, let's say. So Dawn and Charmaine and Carlene are working a lot with some of the feedback from these folks. So January 6th, they sent a letter over, and I can forward this on to the rest of the board. But they talked about how they got a tour from the board. And one of the things that we're working on with the communications committee is doing district tours and having events here for school kids to come and learn about the water industry and potential future jobs in the water industry for both middle and high school kids. And we're using Aqua GPIA's waiver that they provided for us because they're unsure. And that Alfred approved, and they were appreciative of us reaching out. But they, they gave really great feedback. And it was a good checkup. It was one of those things when we start with a new insurer, we want to make sure we didn't get off on the wrong foot. And it's and so I'll forward this to you. Peter Kaczynski, who retired at the end of the year, is handing it off to the new person who's handling our stuff. Who his name is I'm used to using iPads. Terry Loafing, and the well, not Terry, there's another. Good. Oh, Carlene would know this off the top of her head. Oh, Andrew Corral is the new senior risk advisor. Peter's a board member at Vista Irrigation District as well. So he got reelected last year. So I'll forward this on to all of you, but it was really just a check-in, and it was positive.
Generally positive with some good recommendations and
Right.
resources. Good. Meetings, workshops, committee seminars, et cetera, reports. Are there any specific ones? Director's comment?
Meg has.
Yeah. The end of last meeting, I took on the action to reach out to North County Fire Protection District. Made my way through, ended up talking with Chief McReynolds, and good conversation. We talked about how we could support them. Well, first of all, there's a lot of people, if you look in neighborhoods, that are complaining that they're losing their fire insurance.
Not complaining, they have.
Yeah, they have, okay, or the rates have gone through the roof, okay. And I talked to him about what we had done when I was on the board in Running Springs. And there it was a lot easier because we oversaw both fire and water. And but we worked with the ISO authority. We went through and upgraded all of our pipe systems across I think we had 9 pressure zones. And we worked with Congressman at that time, Jerry Lewis, to get Farmers Home Administration loan and grants. And we were able to lower our ISO rating like 2 levels. Don't know where we are right now in this area, but what I told the chief was, we're interested in seeing how we can support you in working towards that kind of a goal. And we need good definition. If we're going to try and improve our system, you have to tell us how many hydrants you need, okay? And that means getting to the ISO authority. And the other thing that I mentioned was, hey, because we collaborated with them, we built the Gila hydrant. And in talking to the owner who, provided the equipment to us, he's talked with the ISO authority. I had a conversation with him at one of the conferences, and the ISO authority doesn't have that kind of infrastructure on their books. So, we're doing some improvements that should be helping, and there's no way for that to really help. Okay, so we've got those kind of things we ought to do. The other thing that I did was I went and looked at our strat plan. I read their strat plan. And although we mentioned stakeholders, I wasn't aware that we reached out to them and had them involved in the review of our strat plan as a stakeholder to see how we could best integrate, any comments that they might have and feedback into what our goals are. And so I got president's email, Cindy Acosta. And what I'll do, I told them we'll draft up an email and send it over. And I suggested we do it under Hayden's signature, president to president. And but I'll put that together for you, Hayden, and try and touch on all the different points. And I think the goal being we get together at a board level, have some discussions, work our strat plan, and then have those goals established and then how to execute. And then let staff get at it and do what has to be done, all the yeoman's work,
Yeah.
to get to, the information we need so that we can try and help the community.
Yeah, so that end, Chief McReynolds and I both, when we were at Marie Waldron's office, pushed that we'd like to see some state funding to help this out, because, to do it, if it takes hundreds of fire hydrants that all cost 30 grand a pop to put in the ground, that'd be a really difficult financial burden for us to undertake. But if the state would, through wildfire prevention things and just, general support of the public, be able to help fund that, that would be super huge. And Robert's telling me we have a class 3. He just texted me ISO rating, it's on a scale of 1 to 10. So this
Yeah.
not super hot. It will be
Well,
difficult.
no, I think it's the lower you are, the better it is.
They used to,
They used to be that way at least.
I think they switched it a while ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, class 1 is now
Yeah.
the best, but
Class
so that's
one
why he
is
said
best.
3X. I don't know what that meant, but Robert is in there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Three,
North Ca-
3 or 3X?
Okay.
whatever that means, but
Well, we need an understanding of what it means.
yeah, and what it would take. And,
Yeah.
we have lots of capacity, but there's also a huge urban wildland interface.
Yeah.
There's so many people, remote properties, that it's very hard to protect those properties, even if there's a fire hydrant in front of them. So we have to make
You
sure.
can also go for bang for the buck if, I don't know what your rating over in your area is, but if do they do a whole zone or do they do local? region?
Subzones. Yeah.
Let's see where they're, I'm sure they haven't canceled your fire insurance, right? But they did yours. And
They did
so-
ours.
They did yours.
We back up to 40 open acres.
And you guys barely got missed in 2017.
Exactly. Well, yes.
So that's a long-term process,
Yeah.
but it's great to put it on the table. The fire department's like, it's not our gig, but I think we need to drag them.
Well,
Good thinking.
it's
Yeah.
not their gig until there's a fire and then
Yeah.
they find out they don't have the water because they didn't work with us.
Well, yeah. And the hell hydrant does provide a benefit when there's a fire,
Fire.
but we'd
Yeah.
like to provide an insurance benefit
But, yeah.
when there's not a.
So there's that item. Let's see. Yeah, I did want to, ask Patricia. You can see that there's a lot of different areas that we're in. I checked with staff and you hadn't been here before the election, and now you're going to have to hit the ground running. So some of your homework, I think, ought to be our strat plan. Okay. The LAFCO report for detachment. And then they did a study of us and Rainbow, and Fallbrook, FPUD,
They
Municipal service.
municipal services agreement.
MSR.
Yeah, the MSR.
I got a
and
copy of my desk.
Those are some of the big Bibles, I think, that we use to kind of help guide us in the planning we do. And I'd recommend you dig in. So,
Open mouth insert fire.
let's see, I think that's it for right now.
Okay, thank you, Meg.
Yeah.
Any other director comments? Legal counsel comments.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President.
You didn't skip you.
Right. Yeah, I did a written report and update on the Clean Water Act and also an update on the Public Records Act. There were developments on both, and the Clean Water Act, which really kind of sets forth the federal government's jurisdiction over, projects that have an impact on water. Really kind of an interesting history there, because it started off pretty narrow, just with navigable waters that basically could put a boat on it. But over the years, the federal government kept increasing their jurisdiction and had a case that went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And it was highly controversial because of the 9 justices. 4 justices went one way, 4 justices went another way, and then 1 justice had his own opinion.
Is that what, I was going to say, how do you get a 4-1-4? It's football, that's a tie.
Right, exactly. So it was just so unclear for a long time that Obama came in and totally revamped the rules and really expanded the scope of
All the way to
jurisdiction.
the gutter outside your.
Is it all the way to
Exactly.
Blue Line? Is it past Blue Line now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then Trump said, this makes no sense. He threw it out. He said under the Obama regulations, the federal government would have jurisdiction to regulate a puddle, so he really kind of narrowed it. Flat out exclusion for groundwater, but that was challenged as well. So now the Biden administration has basically come up with a middle ground between the Obama regs and the Trump regs, and they're based on actually that Supreme Court opinion. The 4 justices that went one way, the Scalia decision, and the 4 justices that went the other way, the Kennedy opinion, basically saying the federal government can only step in to impose the permitting requirements if the project has a significant nexus or a relatively permanent standard. And it kind of goes on from there as to what's required.
Clear as mud.
Yeah, it's still exactly. And then the other update I did was on the Public Records Act request. So here there's no substantive changes, so no substantive changes to what's covered, the exemptions or anything, but they just completely recodified all of the statutes. So before when we would do a request, a Public Records Act request, or respond to one, it would start with Government Code Section 6250. Now, effective January 1st, we'll have to update all of our templates because starts at 7920 and we have to cross-reference it, and there's like 7 new pages of regulations. That they said it made it simpler, but I think it just makes it more complicated. But we'll have to keep that in mind when we have Public Records Act requests and responses going forward.
So going back to your first topic, the Clean Water Act, it's my understanding from reading your report that they excluded groundwater, correct?
Trump did, but now the new regulations, it removed the exclusion from groundwater, which is, I actually really like the Trump regulations because I thought they made it just much more clear. I think, like Tom was mentioning now, pun intended, we're back in muddy waters because what does significant nexus or relatively
The
permanent
groundwater
mean?
is back in.
Right.
I had
can
read
show.
it the other way.
Oh, yeah.
They had not included groundwater.
Right.
The challenge with it, because of it's unclear, is that certain groups have used it to block darn near anything.
Right.
Yeah,
And so it leaves you wide open on a project that somebody making this claim. And it's, there's no real good standard. It might have not been quite far enough. The Obama administration definitely overstepped. The Trump administration definitely went too far the other way, although it was closer. And hopefully we can get to a middle ground, but it would be super helpful if the legislature would step in and do its damn job. But this thing has been trotted out through executive order and administrative rulemaking, and then court challenges when the legislature has left the Clean Water Act, how it was defined 53 years ago, sit there and have all this, finagling going on over it. I don't have any faith in Congress whatsoever to get anything substantive done. So that solution is probably a fairy tale.
So I would
That's
like to
funny.
make a comment what the county has been doing, and I went and talked to the guy. They've got a guy out there in hip boots walking Moosa Creek and the creek that runs along South Mission and the Ostrich Creek that runs down 76. A county guy walking. I'm going, what are you doing in the water? I got to walk the water and see what's going on and who's dumping and what's going on. And I'm going, oh my God. Anyway, heads up, everybody.
Mm. Yeah, it's been quite a history. I remember when I was in law school at Harvard back in 1996, Scalia came to campus and talked about this issue, and it's been highly debated ever since. Yep.
well, it's always been controversial from the get-go.
Right.
Any farming community will tell you that.
That's right. Yeah. 'Cause I remember a lot of the Central Valley farmers, under the Obama regs, they'd have those kind of like, irrigation ditches that only had, they're dry most of the year, except when there's like, stormwater event or whatever. And they came in and tried to regulate those.
Oh, yeah. Well, the
But
county's doing
I
that.
mean, going back to 53, I remember growing up in South Texas and the Clean Water Act was a major issue. I don't remember the particulars, but the farmers were all like, this is screwing us.
Absolutely.
Okay, committee reports. Flint?
Okay, Mr. President, members of the board, in the spirit of brevity is a virtue, I'll try to make this brief. The engineering committee did not meet in early January because there were no real urgent items that needed to be addressed. We do have a committee meeting scheduled for the first Wednesday in February, and there are some notable items that we'll be taking up at that time. With regard to the Finance Committee, the committee did meet, and the primary point of discussion was around the wastewater financial plan and the setup for the preliminary cost of service study that needs to be done for the rates. And it's looking like, depending on what scenario that we adopt, that wastewater rate increases could be a bit more than anticipated. First of all, the board appeared to have adopted a 5-year program 4.5 years ago, but apparently it only adopted 1 year of the rate increases. So what some of you may have in your head is that there was a plan for 5 years of rate increases. Only I think the first year of that plan was actually implemented. And so several years of rate increases did not happen. So that means when we get to doing the cost of the cost of service, we now have a much bigger gap than we thought we were going to have had the rate increases been implemented for each of those 5 years. Hope that's clear. And so that was really the heart of the Finance Committee meeting, was looking at that, looking at a number of options. Are there any stretch outs? Are there any front loading, back loading, whatever ways to try to address what could be a fairly hefty rate increase? We also got a very preliminary look at the mid-year budget adjustments, and those are looking I'd say pretty plain vanilla, nothing of great import. I'll finally say that there are no items on your calendar today that were acted upon by either of our two committees. So none of the items that you have are recommended for or against, because they did not come to our purview. They were outside our purview. Any questions?
If I could add to what Flint accurately described there related to the wastewater rates, we had a sizable wastewater reserve. A lot of our rate setting is based on reserve balances, operational reserves, and then our CIP reserves. The Lift Station 1 project has sucked those way down to where our revenue reserves are very, very low. And we knew that going into it, because we're not going to have a bunch of CIP after that. The other part of the modeling is that we've been extremely conservative on capacity fee revenue. The Campus Park West project, they said they were going to start grading last year, and they didn't. We just didn't include any of the money from that. If that project gets going and those cap fees come in, then the rate increase won't need to be as much, because that's going to help fund capital.
What about
work.
Bonsall Oaks?
Bonsall Oaks, another one. Well,
Are they moving forward or not? I saw that it.
he's
sold-
sitting right there.
There we go. Hi.
Sorry. But
Take your glasses
Yeah.
off.
Don't worry,
I-
she
you'd have
can't
to ask
see.
David, Mr. Pallinger is here, but yeah, the other one with Ocean Breeze Estates and some of the projects like that. And so, it's a conservative forecast, and hopefully things will come up better. And just an FYI, Amelia Kim, our grant specialist, and I had a meeting with a fellow in DC in Darrell Isa's office, talking about a grant program that's part of the IRA, that it looks like we're eligible for some IRA money to help fund the wastewater project, because they're looking for things to spend right now.
Mm.
That one fits the bill. He was very positive to it. It's a grant process. It's the federal government. I offer no guarantees, warranties, or predictions, but he was very receptive to it. And Senator Congressman Isa's office will support us in our application through the relevant things. And Amelia's got all that sorted out. So we'll be making those applications here over the next 30 to 60 days. And with any luck, see some money later this year. That would be a miracle for the federal government they're talking about funding it May and June. Some of those things come through, this rate increase goes way down. It's all about being able to manage our infrastructure and have, we have to have some rate increase, because inflation has just bit everybody in the butt. And our rates I live in the urbanized area, Escondido. I pay 25-30% more than our customers do here in the more rural area. And the treatment plant from where I live is.
But we make up for it on the other side.
Yeah, that's right. It's just one of those things to where the forecast was to do it. Remember in 2018, there were some comments and people said, why are you doing 5 years? And we'll just do one, and we just did one. And then the detachment thing started. We're like, well, let's look at it. But we are where we are. It's a conservative forecast. And we bring better news back.
And the committee is definitely very supportive of what the staff is doing, which is, shall we say, plan for the worst and hope for the best. Okay, but I think we have a fiduciary obligation to make assumptions that are not aggressive in terms of funding availability, so that if anything changes, any change will be for the better, not for the worse. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Flint. Communication Customer Services Committee had no meeting. We'll be meeting the first of next month. Board action items, discussion and possible appointment of board officers and representatives.
Okay, so this is the fun time of the year where we go through all the different positions and you all get to pick who you want to do what and sort all that out. You can pick the status quo, you can switch it all up, you can do whatever you like.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we retain everyone in the same offices that they currently hold.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made by Director Gasket to maintain status quo, seconded by Director Moss.
Do
Is there any discussion? There is one item that we need to address a committee member meeting.
exactly. So that would, and which committee, if Director Townsend Smith would like to serve on, if she wants to, or what?
The finance.
You're interested in the finance committee? Okay, that's the one.
That's when the bill was on, so.
Okay,
and maybe
then
you
I'd
get
like to
the mo-
amend the motion to
Well,
include,
The motion maker has to.
I'll accept the amendment.
Okay,
He's just making them,
you want me
You
to
made a
finish?
yeah, right.
Proposed amending the original motion to include Director Patty Townsend Smith as the committee member for the Budget and Finance Committee.
I'll accept the amendment.
Okay, any further
I second that.
okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The
part of me
motion,
wished you'd pick somebody else with the water authority for it, but.
Come
do
on,
they,
Tom.
do they have to be a member of this district?
No, the Carlsbad has a member who lives in Colorado and used to live in Oregon.
Hey, we could pick Kim Thorner.
You definitely could.
I was going to say you.
I don't know if there's any competition there, but it's too soon. I think, in case Kim's listening.
Motion passes. Okay, item number 21, approval of resolution 23-01 establishing check signing authority.
This is the standard thing when we have a change in staff or
Okay.
board to adjust who the authorized people are for our bank.
So I'm currently on it.
We're all
this was
currently,
to
it's
be-
to basically remove Bill and put.
Got it.
Patty.
Yeah,
Yep.
got it. Yeah, because I run down whenever Don says.
Who's available, right?
Is there a motion?
Oh, I move that we accept the check signing authority as stated by President Hayden.
But it's approve option one, I believe, it in the.
Option one.
Option one, yep.
I'll
second.
Okay, moved by Director Moss, seconded by Director Mack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Consider approval of an MOU between Rainbow Municipal Water District, Fallbrook Public Utilities District, the U.S. Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, Rancho California Water District, and the City of Oceanside regarding cooperation of water reclamation and brine disposal matters.
Yeah, so the last several months I've been working with the GMs of these various folks and the John Simpson, who's the water manager at Camp Pendleton, on the challenge we all face in developmental local supplies, which is what to do with the brine generally. Yeah, can you lower that? I know it's starting to get warm. Yeah.
78 here, sorry.
Ahmed will figure it out. It's a computer
Fix it.
inside there.
He fixes everything.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, just wait till summertime.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll. Yeah, I know. Sorry, Chad. It's traumatizing. Our groundwater project, unless we can find sweeter water out east, and we'll know the results of these here in a couple of weeks when we have our meeting with the groundwater guys. We're gonna need to take some salt out of that water, and then you gotta get rid of the brine. And, you can try to haul it by truck, but that's very expensive. You can distill it down using thermal processes to get the water out and keep the salt. It's expensive and energy intensive. And so as you're probably aware, up in Riverside County and some other areas, there are some groundwater desalters. They have a line that runs along the Santa Ana River. It's called the SAPA line that,
Right.
that goes miles and miles and miles to drag that brine on. Rancho California Water District, just over the hill from us here, our neighbor to the north, it wants to expand some of these types of facilities and looking at the cost of doing that. But they also recognize the city of Oceanside has an ocean outfall here, which is much closer geographically. Now there's a big old set of hills in between here and there, and it's a coming up out of the valley and Temecula through Duluth and La Cresta and down over this side will be a challenge. But it's a possibility. As I mentioned earlier, we expect the direct potable use regulations to be approved sometime in the next couple of months. At that point, we'll see an expansion of the ability to cost effectively, we hope. We haven't seen the final regs yet, so. But like all the million gallons a day that we send down to the Oceanside plant, it's likely that we would develop a project to, right now they're treating wastewater and putting it in the ground and having to do all that. There's only so much groundwater capacity. This way we can take every drop that goes there, make it purify it, and then deliver it back into our distribution system. We have 1.5 million gallon a day capacity rights in that ocean outfall. And so if Rancho wants to use it to get rid of that, and they want to come down that way, we need to be a party to that.
Yeah. Can they pay us in water?
Well, there's a whole different things that are going to be discussed here. One of the main reasons to put this group together is also to build a coalition that we can go talk to the federal government about grant.
Right.
So this will be a multi-watershed approach with the Santa Margarita and the San Luis Rey watersheds, which are the two major watersheds in this area, with multi-county agencies, cities, special districts, the federal government through Camp Pendleton will put us in a strong position once there is some sort of a mechanism to identify the possible projects. We're super early on this. The MOU just kind of describes the goals of what we're trying to do. And as you read it, you see that every agency has a slightly different goal. But the whole thing is to get everybody up here working on the same sheet of music, coordinate our activities so that we can get put ourselves in the best position possible to get future funding. And then, share costs and things like that. So we're not building a project and they're building something similar and we're not communicating.
That makes
about it.
sense.
So that's kind of where we're at on this. This is the MOU is just I didn't even send it to Alfred because there's a whole lot of nothing to it. And my University of Wikipedia law degree gave it the stamp of approval, unless Alfred found some sort of fatal flaw in it. But it's pretty milk toast. It's just to say, hey, we'll work together. But if we don't, that's cool too.
I'd make a motion to authorize option one, authorize GM to execute the MOU.
I'll second that.
And that it's not a project under.
Yes.
So there's motion by Director Gasca for option one to pursue the MOU and seconded by Director Hamilton. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Item number 22, discussion and possible action to quit claim easements for the Bonsall Oaks development.
And Mr. Pallinger is patiently waiting 1 hour and 8 minutes here, and Chad will lead us on this item.
Yeah, thank you. I got to pull my first Tom Kennedy GM invert and rotate comment to my staff. The way the memo was originally written, you had to be a deed and title expert to understand. So
Pam would have been okay.
Oh, you.
I said we're going to have one director who lives and breathes it. But yes, so this is for the Bonsall Oaks property, formerly known as the Polo Club. The development was initiated a little over 25 years ago. We've had several different map revisions come through. We've had some amendments at our February board meeting. We're currently working with Mr. Pallinger on a 5th amendment to the overall track map. But the matter before the board today is to quit claim some water and sewer easements. Everything that Bonsall Oaks is doing is rerouting the existing water and sewer to within what will be their roadways. Right now, the existing infrastructure is cutting through what's currently backcountry, but it would then be through people's homes and yards. So those are all being abandoned. New infrastructure is being constructed, and we will then get new easements for all of that. So Is there a question?
Yeah, I had a question. How were the easements granted in the first place? By quitclaim also or grantee?
I think
20
they were grant.
grant.
And they need to be abandoned the same way. In my never to be humble opinion.
I will defer to legal. We ran this through legal, but
We'll get it. We'll make sure it gets done.
dot i's and cross t's. Okay, I can confer with legal.
Yeah.
Additionally, I don't know where I was.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's all right. Staff is recommending option 1. It is not a project defined by CEQA authorizing the general manager to quitclaim. However, if we need to amend direction to staff to do it a different way or confer with legal,
You can quit claim an easement.
Yeah, the county quit claimed.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate
So
that. I hate those.
I hate it, but it's legal.
There's no doctrine of after acquired title in a quitclaim deed.
I'll leave that to the lawyers.
yeah, and I will follow. We definitely do
Yeah, you're
not
talking out of.
the
That
area
was the.
Yeah, yeah.
rotate part.
the area that is being vacated, however that is done, is no longer needed by the district in any way, shape, or form. Those facilities are being abandoned.
So we.
I have no problem with that.
So we, if I'm reading Pam right, the motion would be to approve option 3 under staff advisement to approve the abandonment of the easements under the appropriate legal
Yes,
means.
I like that.
Well worded.
Thank you.
And that it's not a project.
Yeah, so we're gonna create an option 3.
Or option 2. I don't.
It's
think
option
that-
1, but with have Alfred review it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
modified
option 1 with Alfred.
Okay.
review
Without
would
the
be
quick-
fine. And you know how I feel about it, Alfred, and you know why.
Okay,
I used to be a title officer.
So we have a motion on the floor.
I second the motion, Hayden.
Okay. Discussion? You raised your hand,
No,
Meg?
I
You
pointed.
pointed.
They're picking
I
up.
just saw a motion out of the corner of my eye. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes.
thank you.
Consideration and possible action to,
Hayden,
sorry.
If I may impose upon the board
Absolutely.
for just one moment, to tell you that, and I'm not an expert at your coins, but it works. The staff in the field are superb, so responsive. The director responds to emails and phone calls. And most of all, Mr. Williams returns every call almost immediately. I've been doing this for 35 years in jurisdictions across the United States, and I've never had a jurisdiction as responsive as here. So from the board down to staff, very well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Just get it built and sold too, right?
All right.
Really?
Cool.
Wow,
Awesome.
fantastic.
Good job.
Okay, item number 23, consideration and possible action to approve resolution 23-03, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Rainbow Municipal Water District commending Bill Stewart for his outstanding service as a director.
Yeah, we had hoped Bill would be here today, but Dawn
Apparently can't get in
wasn't
contact
able
with
to
him.
get him. Try to tell him to be here, but
He decided to take a vacation.
I hope he did. But yeah, as the resolution indicates, he had 2 terms on the board and served on a committee in between and is currently on one of the committees, although he hasn't made it back to get formally brought forward by the committee yet, because he needs to come back to a committee meeting and have the committee.
Well,
recommend him.
we didn't have a meeting.
We did, yeah, well, yeah, but he was finance though,
Yeah, we had a.
Yeah.
We had a meeting in January.
because when
but
he was on
unattended.
communications before he got back on the board, then back on the board, he went on a finance.
And I thought he was coming back to
Communications.
communications.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the board did appoint him back to communications. We just need to hear from. him to
Right.
continue
That's
as
right.
Well, on budget and finance as a public member.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Director Gasca, seconded by Director Hamilton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Item number 24, discussion and possible action regarding the San Diego Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO, for call for nominations for regular and alternative special district member election.
Well, I think we talked about this already, and in my candidate member, I indicated that Barry Willis intended to, it was expected to, but as you heard today, he is definitely running. And so the question would be here is if any of you would like to oppose him in that election, and I'm hoping the answer is no, but that's up to you.
I think we move that, whatever the option is for
Option
Barry.
three. No,
Option 3,
Option 3 is we choose to nominate no
Yep.
candidates.
we choose to nominate no candidate.
Okay, so Director Moss moves for option 3. I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Board member requests for authorization to attend upcoming meetings and conferences and seminars. You do not need to ask for permission for conferences like Aqua or CSDA.
Yeah, I'm going to Aqua, but nothing else special.
There's no other special meetings or,
Was it gonna tell Don I want?
oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say, Tom, I've already registered Tom for the 2023 Aqua Spring Conference. I'm in the process of registering Director Townsend Smith, and Pam Moss has indicated she'd like to go. Director Mack, you would like to go as well. So, and Meg, you're,
That's in the May 9th through 11th?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I would like to make a recommendation that Patricia, or I don't know how you want to be called. Is it Patricia or Pat or
Pat.
what? Okay, Patty, that she attend both the session 1 and the session 2 of the leadership academies as quickly as possible,
They're
as
coming up.
for-
what, in
Yeah,
March?
it's, I have a list at each of your seats of the.
they're
conference.
invaluable. They're really
Leadership
invaluable.
Academy is coming up. I'm just not sure the dates. I had it there at your seats.
Whatever the dates are. And then I
February
believe
26th.
Robert should be going to the second half of that or the first half.
scheduling.
Good.
Life.
Yeah, we're doing that. We're taking care of it. Don't worry.
These are actually seminars. The other thing is, one of the things we've strived very hard to do since Tom came on board
This year.
is
You have it.
is getting the district recognized for its organizational performance and activities. And that requires the board of directors participation in certain levels. And
This is one of them, and it's really excellent. You'll
it's a
enjoy
good
it.
program.
It's governance training, how boards work, what the board members' roles are, do's and don'ts. What to look
Yeah,
for, those things.
yeah.
And then they, obviously the ethics stuff and all that. stuff.
All that stuff. But
But-
yeah, it's invaluable.
And
But
that
if you
one's
have
in
time,
La-
it's out in the desert.
that
and
was
it's
in La
not Naga.
Quinta, right?
That's-
And yeah, the first
Yeah.
one's in La Quinta.
Yeah, February 26th to March 1st. What they have a thing called Districts of Distinction at the California Special District Association, which there's a small but growing number of districts that have achieved it, and we have finally, although they have multiple levels of it. And we haven't quite got to platinum because if for whatever reason, there was always one board member who didn't quite have the full certification at the time it was needed to apply. When do we have to apply by, John?
Our certificate right now expires in March of 2023, so I'm getting ready to pull everything together.
So let's see here, February
which
26th to
include-
March 1st. If she got in there and got it done, then we might be able to get the platinum.
Yeah.
Which includes ethics certificates, so I need a few of those too.
No pressure.
Yeah, right.
No pressure. No, it's
We did, we
you
did.
know, and
we
just
did
so
the-
you know, Director Townsend Smith, when we came here 9 years ago, Rainbow's reputation was for boards that were ungovernable and people would say, yeah, I come there be yelling matches between board members and it's hard to get things done and operate efficiently if the board doesn't
And
understand.
we had how many GMs?
Oh,
Uh,
I'm the 45th. So let's put-
Every 18 months.
every 18 months. And that created a problem for recruitment, retention, staff retention and
General governance.
generals. How do you get good quality people to come here when the board's going nuts? And so part of the things that we pushed is for our board members to go learn how really effective boards work, because people think that by coming out and making a stink at the board member, they're representing the ratepayers, but if all it does is reduce the board's effectiveness, then it doesn't really help. And having a board that can discuss items they may not have full agreement on, work through those issues, come to some resolution, and then once that resolution is done, whether it's a 4-1 or a 3-2 vote, That's the way we go when we go there together. So that's kind of the part of what they go on in that. But it's a great one, especially, I don't know how you've served on other public boards before, but it's a great.
It's just really, really helpful.
And one of the other things that I've encouraged my board members, these conferences, is to meet board members from other agencies around here. And, you're hearing something from me that doesn't sound right to you. Don't ask me, call somebody else. Say, hey, I'm just double checking on this. And then they'll always tell you that I'm right. I'm just going to tell you. Of course, but you go ahead and call.
And if I recall right on district of distinction, how many special districts are in? Well, there was 55, I think Barry mentioned, or something, special districts.
Here in
In
San Diego
San
County.
Diego County.
Yeah, there's,
And
I
of
think
the-
there are only 6 districts of distinction in the
Correct.
county, and only 3 of those are water districts.
Correct.
I may have the numbers
Yeah.
slightly
We-
wrong. but it's
No,
in those-
yeah, no, we're pretty special. That was pointed out at the very last one that I went to up in Napa.
I think we did the calc once before and we're like in the top 2 or 5%.
Yeah.
Of
yeah, of
districts
all the
in the
districts statewide.
state.
So no pressure. Just be glad it's not August, the last one they had.
Or glad it's not COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And the Indian Wells in August was pretty brutal.
And that February one does conflict with our board meeting, but we'll have a quorum. If you should decide to attend that, we'll have a quorum present, so we should be okay.
Or she could post a note outside her hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she needs to go to the classes.
Oh, All right.
Board information items, receive and filed information and financial items.
I had a quick question. Hayden, did you want to go to the spring conference?
I don't think I can.
Thank you.
Under general manager comments, I do have one announcement to make. And sitting in the front row of our gallery here is Cynthia Gray, who has announced that she'll be retiring from the district at the end of next week. Moving on to greener pastures. Yeah. Although I do hear she does want to continue serving on the communications committee as a public member. And so we'll have to go through that process. You know, the process. You got to.
Have you trained your replacement for chairing and for participating in that? committee?
Oh,
Yeah, you can't leave.
Even partially. I mean,
Well, I've had the pleasure to hire Cynthia twice in my career. Once at Levenheim in 2008, I want to say, was it? And then again here at Rainbow, and it's been a pleasure working with her. It's a loss for us, but that happens.
Yeah. Life goes on.
That goes on, and you got to take advantage of it while you can.
Yep.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments regarding receive and file? List
That's
of
everything? Yeah, I mean, everything, general manager, ops, engineering, all that. Any of
Robert, do you have any comments to make?
Well, I have one for Robert.
Okay.
So after the storm, I was coming down Wilt and right where the junction is with Calamasa and Fox and Glove, I think it is. It was just this sheet of water flowing over the road. And I was actually going to Calamasa Market, and then I was going to come here to the district. And there's a truck parked in the parking lot. So I go over and talk to the guy there and said, hey, it was Justin. Okay. And told him what the story was, told him what I was going to do. And he's kind of looking at me and I go, yeah, I'm Mig Gaska, director on the board. And he goes, I thought you looked familiar.
Those guys don't get it here.
Yeah. And he said, I'll go check it out. And so he did. And got accosted by the lady whose grove he was wandering around in. But apparently it was just free flow.
Yeah.
From all the rain. And it was coming out like a pipe was busted. That's how much water was coming out
that's the
off that grove.
second one Robert's had the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Because I've reported one yesterday.
Yeah.
It
It's
happens. Lots of
and-
places.
it's very common when we have that much rain. I think we had somewhere 3 to 5 inches in that 72-hour
But you
time
can't tell-
frame.
I mean,
So
yeah.
we get a lot of calls and a lot of calls will come into the fire department for flooding. And they'll call the water department or the water district because it's water and it's flooding.
Yeah.
The problem is we generally know that it's related, it's rain event,
Yeah.
but we still have to do our due diligence and go look because it could be a main break. You just never know.
Yeah.
So
And And with the cost of water nowadays.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's
Yeah.
related to the rain, but you never know.
Anyway, he promptly called when he was done with his assessment and let me know it was what it was. And I thanked him. and-
Yeah, Robert checked out one for me too with the guys.
Yeah.
Oh, we get them all the time. Sometimes if somebody's sprinkler head is broken, they call it as a main.
Yeah. So it just real quick on, and we sent that email out, but our crews, just so everybody knows, they work 24/7, 365 days a year. So whether it's raining, it's 100 degrees, it doesn't matter if line breaks, they're gonna fix it. Our system operators, they're looking at the computer every day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, 3 times a day, trying to manage flows. Look at the weather, look at how much water we have on hand and make a decision how much water we want in the system. It's complex. During the rainy season, our wastewater crews are really out and about because we get rainwater into the sewer system. And we call that infiltration and intrusion. And it gets in the system in a lot of different ways. So our flows go up. So we're really paying attention to that. And this last go round, we actually shut down some of our sewer lift stations and held flows so that we could let go what was in the system and let it get to Oceanside. So that was an all-nighter for some guys. So, but it's
Saturday night.
the weekend before, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's always something going on out there.
Yeah,
for
the
us.
thoroughbred lift station will be really helpful because that big,
It's-
saw storage bays and.
Oh, yeah.
The big storms happen and getting some of the sewer lines that are in creek beds out.
Yeah.
Also coming along with different developments.
Yes, sir.
Could you look into something for me? I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, I've been doing work at the Huntley pump station. And you're draining, you're using a fire hose to drain whatever you're draining. And the gentleman has put it on the asphalt, which is probably a good idea, but the problem is he's put it right in front of like a squirrel hole. And now all the water's going down the squirrel in the road, and then now the road is going to collapse.
Ooh,
So. if you can
That's
look into that,
isn't that our contractor out there?
it could be. It could be. We got to figure out if it's us doing something out there or
Oh, our guys.
interesting.
Yeah, and our guys were over on.
Where
Camino
isn't there
Road.
a squirrel hole?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem is, you should have noticed, might have been 2 different times, but this happened like twice in the last week and a half. Now, he puts it right in front in the road, and there has to be a swirl, and the water's going under there, and now the road is just all sinking.
Okay.
And you can take a look.
Yeah, we'll take a look for sure.
I don't think it's the contractor.
Okay.
And we had a contractor working out there for getting the generators. Ooh, I don't know. I didn't know.
There's no any related to that, but you never know.
Why we go look?
Thank you, Robert, for all you do. List of suggested agenda items for the next regular board meeting.
We will have some information coming to you from the outcome of our E and O and Budget Finance Committee meetings. Probably a first look at the, I don't know if they'll be right on the water side, the sewer rate adjustments.
Okay,
And then the usual standard bevy of engineering stuff that's coming through.
We have some notice of completions and there'll be a Fifth Amendment to the Bonzo Oaks agreement.
And then something else will come our way that not even on my radar yet, but it'll show.
If there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned at
Thank you,
two
everybody.
28.
thank you. My gosh, we really finished early.
Man,
How'd we manage that?
you know, especially it was weird because we hadn't met since early December and we didn't have this huge.
I decided to go and get next to it, so I didn't miss him.
Hey, 45 minutes to kill.
Yeah. He's got extra time, you kidding me?
Hey, getting skinny, dude. Looking slim and dapper. Yeah.
How you doing? Sorry, checking with
Are
you.
you overwhelmed by us?
I heard you.